let's say, you fight Anthony Joshua early June, late May. Is that why you're staying so active all the time anyway? Not in fights, but just staying, not having a downtime, making sure that you can do your utmost with that time out? Because obviously we're going to fight in December, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, I was trying my best to make a fight happen in December, but the promoters couldn't do it, couldn't come up with it. For whatever reason, they let me down with that one.
Yes. Go on, Eddie. Listen, the one thing I will say about Eddie, though, is he's trying his best to make this fight happen, whatever fight that is. And, yeah, he's working hard, so credit to him. You're hearing all these things are done, right, but I don't know anything. Like I say, you need to speak to Eddie or Bob or Frank.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Tyson, Fury, royally punking his promotional and management team, Bob Arum and Frank the Fish Eyes, Frank Finding Nemo Warren. Now, it's interesting because I saw some next Don in the comments who said that it's really fundamentally embarrassing for Bob Arum and Frank Finding Nemo Warren right now, because right now and in general over the last few months, because Eddie Hearn has, again, fundamentally been doing more promotion, has been better. In fact, has been the only one doing any promotion for Tyson Fury's brand. Eddie Hearn's got him on the podcast. Eddie Hearn's keeping him relevant. Bearing in mind, Tyson Fury, people forget. People really do forget. They got a really short memory. If it wasn't the only reason people even talk about Fury over the last 6 months, bearing in mind he hasn't fought for a year and a half, is because Eddie Hearn and AJ keep him relevant. I hate to break it to you, man. You man can be mad. You man can be sour. That's the truth. The only reason people ever mention Fury's name is because of AJ. 100%. 100%. The last 6 months. Only because of AJ and Eddie Hearn. Because what do we know? Fish Eyes and Bob Arum, that in fact, all of Eddie Hearn's hard work and trying to promote not someone who's not even his fighter, Tyson Fury, Tyson Fury's management team, they shut it down. And it's one thing, yeah, like a good business promoter it's fair enough shutting down a fight. So the way Bob Arum and Fish Eyes have been shutting down the AJ fight, that's fair enough. But usually they shut something down and then say, A's not happening, but look at B. We've got B going. They were shutting A down, killing their own event, and then had no alternatives. Oh no, AJ fight can't happen. And that's it. That's not how promoters work. Promoters usually, if you're going to shut an opportunity down, you then use that springboard, you use the AJ and Fury springboard to promote a different event. Oh no, not these sloppy dons. These sloppy, lazy looking asses. Fish Eyes and Finding Nemo, 90-year-old. Where's 90-year-old? Yeah? Eddie Hearn making these dons look sad. And you know it's ultimately bad when a man... Like, people have always been mad at Eddie Hearn. Fish Eyes, Bob Arum, mad at Eddie Hearn. Schooling them at their job. But there's levels to this, yeah? I've never seen someone school someone else with their own client. Does that make sense? For example, it's one thing for Eddie Hearn to have a stable, or to have someone like AJ who schools their next best fighter. It's another thing for Eddie Hearn to be schooling them with their own client. Like I just said, Eddie Hearn, empirically, statistically, has done more for Tyson Fury than they've been doing. I mean, even look at his latest event, Canelo versus Saunders. IFL, which by the way is financially backed by Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn in general, i.e. through the zone, giving Fury all his promotion. It's all about Fury, his promotion is. And why do you think that is? Do you think that's by chance? Or do you think that Eddie Hearn's thinking to himself, you know what, if the AJ fight happens, let's get Fury, you know what I'm saying, let's keep Fury in the loop. Meanwhile, Fish Eyes and Bob Arum nowhere to be found. And it won't even mind, yeah, if it was, oh well, YB, it's only been a little while. They've done nothing with Fury for the last nearly 2 years. Damn near 2 years. Legitimately. damn near 2 years, they've done nothing. Because think about it, even if the AJ fight comes off, guess what? They haven't done nothing for it. They haven't done nothing. They've done nothing with it. Apart from shut it down. And Eddie Hearn's been the one pumping it up with energy, pumping it up with life. It's unbelievable. And then, if any of you, and this thing is as well, I'm sure there's some Theory fans who will say things like RYB, or I'm sure there'll be some next Don called Ultra, what's his name? Ultra Tech, or some next Don like that. Oh, well, you're riding Eddie Hearn and you're riding AJ. Never mind my opinion. Oh, Frank Warren's the best promoter and Box Nation, even though I didn't support Box Nation when it was around, Box Nation and Fish Eyes are the best. Them same Dons, yeah? Don't listen to me. Your own man, Theory. Guess what? In the last 6 months, categorically, I've heard Tyson Theory talk down his team. In the last 6 months, Tyson Fury actually said, I blame my team for not keeping me active. One of my only requests have been, since I've joined Fish Eyes and Bob Arum, one of my only requests has been, keep me active. Which I remember him saying at the time, I need to be active. And he said, they've failed to do that. And that's a knock on my team. That's what Fury's statement's been on his own team. 2-2s. In the last 24 hours, as you just heard there, Tyson Fury giving props to a man who's not associated with his business at all. In the business of Tyson Fury, Eddie Hearn doesn't hold a stake. At all. Nonetheless, Tyson Fury is going out of his way to say, Eddie Hearn's been working hard. Wow. If that doesn't get... And that's the reason I'm doing this video, to be honest. I'm trying to bring light on it. I'm sure Fish Eyes and Bob Arum will see it, but just in case they don't, I'm going to do the most as well to make sure it gets out there. Because we already know that Bob Arum and Fish Eyes are sick. Now they're going to be super sick. And rightly so. You should feel sick. Because you best hope Eddie Hearn don't steal your mans. And I think he should. Why not? If you're such bad promoters, and the crazy thing is, there's actually 2 of them, you know. It's Bob Arum and Fish Eyes. Eddie Hearn's doing better than 2 whole teams of work himself. It's a sad, sad position to be in. You're super sad. Finding Nemo and Bob Arum going out sad right now. Super sad. Their number 1 charge is out there saying, you know what, Eddie Hearn's been putting in work. Eddie Hearn's been doing a good job. And I believe Fury's giving Hearn credit for things that, or for the blatant things, i.e. just the AJ fight, but really, you don't realise how much Eddie Hearn's been doing for him otherwise. Keeping him relevant in general, and you know what I'm saying, plugging him all over the place and whatnot. He's been doing the most, Eddie Hearn has. And Fish Eyes and Bob Arum just stay hating. And there was another key tell. During Michelle Joy Phelps said to Fury, what's going on with the AJ fight? And he said, I don't know. You're gonna have to speak. You're gonna have to speak to someone from my team. I don't know. Speak to Frank. Speak to Bob. Speak to Eddie. Wow. Do you know how peak that is? For example, I'm sure there's a man out there who don't understand how peak it is. So let me explain it to you. Do you think there would ever be an occasion where AJ would say, "Speak to Frank Warren" or "Speak to Bob Arum"? Do you think them words would ever come out of AJ's mouth? No, because thankfully AJ's got the competent team. He will always say, "Speak to Eddie." There'll never be an occasion where AJ will say, "Speak to Eddie." Sorry, speak to Frank, speak to Bob. And better yet, just again, transpose this whole situation. Imagine AJ saying, "Oh, I just want to take this time to say thanks to Frank Warren and thanks to Bob Arum," and not Eddie. Imagine it. It'd be mental. It's a mental thing to imagine. But that's what we've just witnessed. We've just witnessed AJ saying, "Thanks Bob Arum and thanks Frank Warren." And the more I say it to myself, it would just never happen. But do you know how peak that's got to be? Do you know how incompetent Fish Eyes and Bob Arum have to be? For Fury, a man who's got... And that's the thing as well. AJ hasn't even got a public thing against Fish Eyes or Bob Arum. But even still, it's 10 out of 10 foreign. A foreign concept of AJ ever thanking them. Tyson Fury and Eddie Hearn have a thing going back and forth. So again, for Tyson Fury to overcome that little playful feud and salute Eddie, it's really got to be super bad on Fish Eyes and Bob Arum's side. And if this fight does get done, if this fight does get done this week, I will know why. It'll make more sense now. It will make more sense why Fury is saluting Eddie Hearn if the fight gets done. Because if this fight does get done, that means that Bob Arum and Fish Eyes, Finding Nemo looking ass, will have been dragging the skip behind them this whole 6 months. Meanwhile, Fury actually wanted this fight. Does that make sense? For example, I've been going off the basis that, oh well, Frank Warren and Bob Arum are dragging their feet because Fury don't want it. But if it gets done, that means Fury did want it, and his promoters were trying to say no, basically, and trying to shut it down, even though he genuinely wanted it. That basically fills the holes in as to why Tyson Fury is saluting Eddie Hearn, because this whole time his own team, number one, haven't had him out in 2 years, and then we're trying to put sticks in the roads to get this AJ fight done. Which, thinking about it now, that does make sense. It makes sense that Fury is saluting Eddie Hearn because he got the job done, assuming it gets done. Either way, Fish Eyes, and I said it years ago, Fury should have got with Eddie Hearn. In fact, everyone should get with Eddie Hearn because he does his job. Look at Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez with Oscar De La Hoya for years. Leaves Oscar and says, you know what, Eddie is the best in the game because he loves the game. He loves it. Eddie gets rock hard over the paper. That's what you need in this game. You need to have a ruthless love for paper. I've heard that Eddie Hearn signs up to the Federal Reserve's OnlyFans just to watch the paper printing out. Eddie Hearn goes to the local bank mint and just stays there, stays peeping on all the fresh notes. He loves it. Yeah. For Fish Eyes and finding Nemo looking ass, 90-year-old. Where they at? Nowhere to be found. That's where they at. Nowhere to be found. Always hating. Nothing positive to bring. In fact, never mind nothing positive. They just have nothing to bring, never. And now they got their main star attraction, not even mentioning their names and shouting out to Eddie Hearn. And even though Eddie Hearn's not his manager, Eddie Hearn's doing such a good job. Tyson Fury himself is even saying, speak to Eddie. Wow. People don't... Do you know how mad that is? Imagine AJ saying, speak to Frank. Wow. This is a humongous L for Team Fury right now. Big L. I'm not sure. To be honest, this week, I'm not sure who's took the bigger L. Is it Fish Eyes? Is it Bob Arum? Or is it John Fury? Yeah? And I can't lie. Now, John Fury's got the biggest L. John Fury's got a universal L. Yeah? Oh, man. And it's even peaker. Because during editing, I listened to the clip back. And if you actually... Well, obviously, when you hear it, he says Eddie first. Wow! I thought Eddie was like in the middle or at the end. He says Eddie first. Oh, if you want to know about my career, if you want to know about my next fight, speak to Eddie, Bob, or Frank. Wow, Frank's last as well. Frank, and you think about it, Tyson Fury is a UK fighter, which means really his relationship should be strongest with Fish Eyes, and he's known Fish Eyes the longest. Bob Arum's only 4 year old. Wow. But he's been with Frank for 10 years. And then you got Bob Arum for 3 years. Eddie Hearn ain't even worked with him officially yet. Wow. Nonetheless, he mentions Eddie first. And gives a salute to Eddie. Meanwhile, he ain't mentioned his own team apart from negatively for years. This is truly peak. Your man need to pull your socks up. Get your finger out your backside. Stop worrying about stupid deals with Tommy Fury. 50-50. Like, what is that? It's no wonder you're a bummy promoter. 50-50 for Tommy. Wow. You're looking super bad right now.